Take what the wise I've got to impart. These are the principles of the game.
The Compassionate Capitalist Show empowers entrepreneurs and investors alike to create wealth with passion and purpose. Join Karen Rands, a best-selling author, for insights on angel investing, crowdfunding, business growth, and wealth creation. As a seasoned entrepreneur and investor herself, Karen engages in dynamic conversations with industry leaders, successful entrepreneurs, seasoned angel investors, and venture capitalists as they share their proven strategies and lessons learned. Once you listen, you will understand why this podcast is ranked in the top 2.5% globally. Subscribe and share and be a catalyst for the compassionate capitalist movement.
There's no giving up and no going back, and you must keep an open mind. And you try your best just to leave your tracks and to not fall too far behind. Regret is for the faint of heart, in the end it's all the same. Take what the wise I've got to impart. These are the principles of the game. The principles of the game. These are the principles of the game.
Welcome back to the Compassionate Capitalist Show. And today we're going to jump in and talk about, for those entrepreneurs that are listening, founders and CEOs that struggle frequently in your day-to-day with how do I scale? And raising capital is really time consuming and painful. And you really want to be able to scale organically, let's say. But, you don't, sometimes you feel like you're going through quicksand as you're trying to scale because, you can't get there. So, it's always great to know somebody that has done it and walk in their shoes, walk in their footsteps, if you will, to get there. And so my guest today is Surabhi Shenoy. She is a CEO coach who helps ambitious tech founders scale their businesses to increase the value of their business and achieve lasting results. A lot of CEO coaches say that, but really, the thing that really makes Surabhi stand out in her journey, which she's going to share some of today, is that she has truly walked the walk. She is a serial entrepreneur. She's built 2 multi-million-dollar annual rate of return companies, ARR companies. And during that time, she did it with the best source of capital, which is customer revenue. And she successfully exited both companies. But mixed into that isn't just woohoo, I built a company, but she did it while also having to deal with the emotional catastrophe of suddenly, when you least expect it, losing your business partner, having to learn a whole other side of business. But that business partner was also your life partner as well when she became a widow after a tragic accident. And so within that, if you think about it, one of the things we're going to weave into our conversation today is about decision fatigue, because as I'm facing a lot of what I'm going through, when you have a growing to-do list, there's decisions associated with that. A lot of the things that need to get done require decisions. That's why we put them off, right? And procrastinate and do other things instead that may not be required, but you have to really be able to do that. But when you're coping with the stress of a sudden change like that, all you want to do is curl up in a ball and, eat ice cream or something. So much depends on your ability to focus. And every decision is your own. And so that is an experience that she brings, that getting through it well, has taught her a lot about the value drivers of the business. Surabhi's journey began in 2005 when she co-founded Tahora. Hopefully I said that correctly. Tahora Technologies. Tajora Technologies with her husband, Nitin. Is that right, Nitin?
Yeah, Nitin, yes.
Okay. After his passing in 2017, she took full control of the business during a period of intense personal and professional challenges. Despite the odds, she led Tajora to growth and a successful exit in early 2022. So, welcome to the show, Surabhi. I am really excited to learn from you today and hear what you have to say. And I know our listeners are as well.
Thank you so much, Karen, for having me here. It's a pleasure. And I love the name of your show. You know, we are all capitalists trying to grow our money, but being compassionate about this and actually have that movement within us and show it outside live it outside in the world, build our businesses, companies. That's really a cool name and thought, I think. And that's why I was looking forward to having this conversation with you.
So, very good. So, good. So, so how did you, so talk about that sort of transition that you went through and, how did you, fill in some of the gaps about, I like the decision of not just selling it then, but pursuing the dream or the vision that you and your husband had and having to dig deep inside to figure out how to go about doing that and getting to that next point and just doing the things that you focused on. Like talk about that process of how you chose to believe you had the ability as a woman in the culture that you're from, all of that you had the ability, the all of the chops to
Yeah.
fulfill the dream that you had shared with your husband.
Mm, Great question. And the way you put it, and my culture, of course, uh, I must start with by saying that I've been blessed with the support from family. Uh, when you fight the fight and you live that the whole day, there has to be a place where you can bring your shields down and not have to have any facade in front of you. And you can cry, you can laugh, you can vent, you can show your frustration, and it's all okay. So if you have that at home, your one aspect of your life is pretty sorted. Uh, so I've been blessed with that, including my in-laws and my parents, all of that. Second is uh, we talk about value. I personally talk a lot about value. You can see it on my website. That's throughout my coaching that build a high value business. It has many benefits. But I must also say that until my husband's passing, we had business for almost 15 plus years. And it is that time I truly understood the value of what we had built. Because the people, the clients, the market, the goodwill, all of that came to stand next to me, by me, support me. And that's also a huge like value. I really truly understood what we had built that time. It's not just what you show on balance sheet. It's not just what you show as what other investors are putting a number to it, but how do you really put a number to something like this, right? So the credit is not mine. It goes to a lot of people. And also, I think uh, I'm going to say it in a way, and I'm saying this after 8 years of me losing my husband, because now I can say it. I have the sanity and sanctity back in my head. But I think if you allow, trauma accelerates learning. That's what I experienced. Because otherwise, like you said, I had a choice of curling like a ball, being in my bed, and not show up. But somehow I'm wired in a way which is extremely duty bound and responsibility of my employees, my customers. I've taken their money. My employees will find another job, but today I'm responsible. So in that process, you have no choice but to show up. And because I showed up consistently and showed that I'm here and I'm going to take all of us through this, that's why that support was right next to me, saying that if you're doing this, we are with you. And that's what created that, I mean, today I can say all of that, but um, I think all founders, all leaders, I would say, have to have little angle of spirituality in them. They have to believe that they have all the answers within them. And if you allow those answers, because we are wise people, we know what needs to be done. We just don't center ourselves and get into that place where we can receive those answers. And answers can come. I have met my mentors in a flight where it was least expected. The absolute perfect person who could have guided me. He himself is a chartered accountant, retired, and now he's teaching MBA program about finance. And the moment he heard why I was in this flight and where I was going and what was happening in my life, he called for a pen and paper. 3 hours flight. He actually showed me what I should focus on, what I should
Oh,
be doing. So how did that mentor came in my life and how he helped me? Then I actually started formal relationship where he was guiding me. He was such a father figure for me that he would whack me saying that, how can you, how can you not know this? You have to know this. You have to learn this. You cannot say, oh, this is not something I can do, right? And that really, uh, why I'm into coaching is because I want to give that experience to whoever is in this position, not in the trauma way, but learning and trying to grow, trying to take that responsibility and have courage to actually show up and keep doing, you know.
yeah.
So many things I think came together. And you mentioned decision fatigue. So true. I mean, uh, Steve Jobs and guys have chosen to wear the hoodie and same
Oh,
t-shirt
right, right.
because they don't want to make one more decision, right? And
I never even thought about that within the context. That's so true.
yeah, and I had my own
Ah,
way of every Monday I would wear a white dress, every Tuesday I would wear a red dress. So I just had, okay, stand in front of the closet, three white dresses, I choose one. I didn't go to the extreme of Steve Jobs wearing the same clothes every day, but
oh
you
my
can
goodness.
eliminate many of those decisions, you know. You don't have to really take all the decisions. There is a way to eliminate, there is a way to delegate, there is a way to really process few things. And there are tricks to do it. You don't have to get burnt out in that.
Yeah, yeah. Like figuring out what platform you're going to switch for podcast. Yeah. Okay, so now let's let people understand what kind of business it is because I thought it was really fascinating and somewhat unique to India, I think. I mean, all banks sort of have fraud, but you had the fintech products that were, well, yeah, I'll let you describe it. Talk about the problem that you were solving and how you solved it with these fintech products that the banking and lending industry embraced readily because of the problem that they had. I guess when you first, over that, when you first identified it back in 2005. So that was even before, you're in the US, we had, because of some fraud, right? We had the collapse of our financial markets and the real estate and really had a ripple effect all over the world. So India
Yes,
was, I guess trying to, anticipate preventing that kind of stuff.
yes. And just to clarify, it wasn't in 2005 that we had all this clarity. We
Okay.
started as most of the self-funded companies who want to do it on their customers and on the revenue basis, as in fund their scaling on the using customers' revenue. It was exactly same. So we started with services. We started with product development for other companies and banks, and slowly they taught us what's the problem, what's the gap that they are struggling with. And with that knowledge, then the product development for our own IP creation that started. And that was, again, a journey of evolving our way of thinking and therefore giving what is required in the market at that time. And those were the fintech product that we had was about um, validating the valuation of the property. So when you go and say that I have this property which I want to mortgage and I need money against it, loan against it, most of the banks know how to really value you, your credibility, your credit score, all of your worthiness, so called. But it is still a challenge to value value the property, and there is a lot of cost attached to it. There has to be a legal person, there has to be a valuation expert. All of them have to go there, look at the property, do the valuation, they do the measurements, send their bills, and then bank finally realizes, no, we don't want to give the loan. We cannot pass this. So the cost of all of this is gone, and they keep doing it again and again. And that one. And second, if the property valuation is really not up to the whatever level that you are supposed to, but there could be a fraud where somebody could pass a higher value loan, and that could backfire because it will finally eventually will become a bad debt in the bank's books, which bank doesn't want. So in that case, again, it becomes an issue. And banks were trying to automate, digitize all this process. So this is part of digital transformation that I'm talking 2015, 12, 15 times where banks were still getting on the digital transformation journey. It's not just the mainframes in the bank, and they're trying to get to a point of operational efficiency, fraud, risk uh, mitigations, and then even get into the place of innovation, right? So if you imagine a pyramid, the core of core banking applications, they were there, right? Now we've put in a layer of little bit of operational efficiency and doing things better, faster, cheaper, with less fraud, less risk. And then there is on the top, you have an innovation. And banks are exploring. And today, I think, uh, I mean, even in India, you can really send money like that. And it's so much easier compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
The
So
loan can get passed within 72 hours. That's possible because the way they have data and they use that.
yeah, and have they gone to fully digitizing, property records and all of those kind of things? So it can be, I mean, that's we take it for granted that things like that are done, but it wasn't that long ago with Katrina here in the US that entire region lost all of their data records of property ownership, because it used to be just like a piece of paper you had in your house or something like that, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
has that, as part of this, the banks now, because they're gathering that up, and is the government saying, we need to have records of ownership, proof of ownership, and things like that?
Yeah, I mean banks do typically. I mean if you have taken a mortgage, the papers are mostly with the bank.
Yeah. But I
You
think
you
some,
give a
legacy properties that people have had in their families for generations, sometimes that, I
right.
mean, that's the thing when people have had it for a while and they just own it,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
I mean,
that's all right. I just was curious
yeah.
about that, but it's like, so how do, um, so what is the secret of creating a high value business that attracts buyers?
Um, I think let's first get one thing. The way I understand it, profitability and valuation are two different things. Today, even in the tech world, so many startups, including Amazons of the world, at some point in time were highly valuable but not profitable. So there is profit is look profitability can be little short term, mid term vision, but high value or creating a valuable business is a long term planning. You can be, and I've lived through this experience, like you said, I've made many mistakes and then learned. It wasn't easy. If you have, say, few clients who actually bring 60-70% of your revenue, you're highly profitable, but one client pulls back
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly you're not even cash flow positive.
Yeah, yeah.
So
A lot of companies
in
face that. And
oh,
that, okay,
100%.
here, I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt because let's focus on that a bit, because that is something that's really tangible that becomes that decision thing, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you're doing good, you're making money, but the process of maybe you don't have a sales, a biz dev department, or you don't have a thing to go out and get more. Maybe the CEO has been the market maker, got that customer, has to maintain the services of that customer, which is also a hindrance to be able to sell the company,
yes.
right? So
So high
what
value
when
business
you
is a
have,
founder free business.
yeah. So as you are coaching your clients and you see that is an issue, how do you get them to have trust that they can hire the right? I'm going to go way. This is like we're off script here, but I think this is really good. How do you get them to say, you need to develop this department? or you need to hire a certain person, because a lot of times I went through this when prior, version of my business, that I didn't think there was anybody else that could sell what I was selling. I had to be the one that sold it. But you can never scale if you don't
Yeah.
develop a team that can sell. And so then it becomes documenting what you do, right? It's processes and things like that. But it's that fear of letting go that limits CEOs and executives from doing from delegating, but also creating something that will, in this case of an example, bring in more customers to grow revenue. Don't do anything to hurt. You can still service that customer, but grow all the additional ones. So instead of being 70% of the business, it comes down to 50 and things like that. So how do you take them through that process so they can believe it can be done, it's easy, it's not going to disrupt, and they can be successful at it?
Great. Lots of questions. I'm going to try my
It's
best to
really
be.
it's all a whole bunch of questions that come into one little,
Yes.
serving of great Surabhi information.
Yeah. No, it's all about building a high value business. Let's put it in
But
that
that
light,
that
right?
gives it in a context, right? So people can apply it.
Yes. Right. So I think, I mean, the way you have put it is really spot on. And I'm going to go one step further behind. And in my coaching, what I really emphasize on is something called rhythm of business. You have to have that. So there is a review mechanism, and there is a review everybody in the company knows. And the founder follows this first. And then everybody knows that my CEO, my founder is going to expect this particular data information, this review on this day. And therefore, everybody's aligned to that. Now, when we said that, one of the important thing is look at your customers, look at their revenue split, look at margins from each customer. Some customers can give you a lot of work, but not enough margin. Whereas some customers could give you less work, but they are highly profitable. And some are really highly demanding and some are not. So you need to really use your logic and decision making here in some aspect based on numbers, though, not purely out of thin air, not purely out of gut feel, and decide where do you want to invest your time and effort. So the high revenue customers are giving you revenue and therefore you survive. So you need to take care of them. But there could be customers who are like 3%, 5% of your revenue, but they have huge potential. They have a decent market share. You need to penetrate more. It's not about reducing revenue here. It's about increasing revenue here, right? On the lower revenue customers at this point. And this is another big decision making point. It is a point of strategy. Now I will have to go into a business model where how you really refine and what are you really offering so that you build your sales pipeline, sales funnel for it. It cannot be random, just go after customers and do whatever work you're doing. And when you do that, when you perfect your business model, your offer, most importantly, what do you sell? Who do you sell it to? How do you sell it? What is the benefit that they get? If you get that nailed, then most of the time you can train your team. So the founder need not be the front face and only on his or her credibility, the business is coming to the company. It cannot be. So then you start scripting. You can say that this is what we offer, on a website, we do the copywriting, right? We use all the methods and tools of copywriting so that you can actually connect with the end user and customer. You can say that I understand your problem. And if that is something that you have scripted, put it on paper and get your sales team trained on that. That's how only you can scale. A founder should not be doing front end sales. You go there and you close the deal. You call and say that I have this, I would like to work for you. Can we meet? Yes. Then send your team to do a lot of, groundwork that is required for even just vendor empanelment for some places would be such a complicated process. What I'm saying is starts with rhythm of business. There has to be a review mechanism. Review your customer, the split, revenue and margin. Have a strategy and plan, action plan, how we are going to mitigate the risk and enhance our revenue both at the same time. Perfect your offer. Sorry. so that you can actually script. Who do you offer? Sorry, what do you offer? Who do you offer it to? What specific problem do you solve? What is the ROI? Why you? Why not anybody else? Get all of that written down. Get your sales team, ask them to practice it, do the role plays, be the bitchiest and the scariest of the customer on the other end, and ask all those questions. They can answer, they can learn that. And they will slowly develop their own style, which could be even better than Karen and Surabhi. And
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced that as well. If I'm there, most of the time I sign up on the smaller number. I agree to lesser price, but because the sales is looking at their targets, their numbers, their incentives, they say, no, 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 we'll push back. And they get a better deal than I would have got. So people have surprised me after trainings, and all that is possible. So again, profitability is one thing, but high value business is a founder free business. It cannot be driven only by you
Okay.
because it cannot run like that,
I
you
see.
know?
Yeah, that was the question. So I was about to say, what's the difference between a profitable business and a high value one? It's that being able to be turnkey without you being there, so somebody can
Right.
buy it and know that it will be consistently
Yes.
continuing with the revenue that and the value proposition that it had.
Right. So there is a time for everything. I'm not saying the founder should not work hands-on in the business. Then I don't know if you have read the book E-Myth, right? In the
Yeah,
business, on the business.
right.
So there is a time and need when you need to be in the business. You have to drive it from the front. You have to set the example for your team that this is how we operate. This is what we value. This is how we serve our customers. And then slowly start delegating that with enough control that you feel comfortable and confident that they can execute and they can maybe execute better than you,
Yeah,
so that you can move more to the strategy, you can move more to the expansion, and
yeah.
then again do that hands on, bring in the people. That's how you can expand, especially if you're doing this self-funded. You have no money to waste. Every penny matters, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's I mean, I use the E-Myth Revisited as part of my coaching program with early stage
Okay.
companies, you know,
Yeah.
to understand that they even at the earlier stage, even every stage, entrepreneurs need to figure out how to work on their business and not just in their business. And, you know, that's where I think when you look at the companies that have kind of gotten stuck or plateaued after raising capital outside and they're kind of growing organically and they're like, you know, oh, I can't seem to get boosted back up, you know. Work with them to, you know, raise capital under Reg A Plus that they can't get from banks and private equity funds and things like that. But they, because they're bringing out a new product and they need more, they can't scale as fast as they originally forecasted because they don't have the capital. And I think it's, they become where they are working in their business, you know, working harder and harder to try to like boost it, but missing out on the fact that they could be doing some of the things that you have discussed to unlock the value in their business so that they can
Yeah.
scale more readily. So I think this is a good time to be able to tell people they to go to the website, right? It's basically Surabhi's name, which is in the show notes, so you can get it there. But it's SurabhiShenoy.com. There's a newsletter tab there that's very specific, driven help for folks that you can subscribe to. But she's also got a free strategy opportunity that you can sign up for, and she'll talk to answer your questions and talk to something very specific. And I guess there's a field there you could put in hashtag CCS for Compassionate Capitalist Show that you heard about her from us. And please go do that so she thinks that people actually listen to the show, that you don't find value in it. So,
Yeah, I've heard previous episodes and they're so valuable. So yes, I
well,
100% agree that they are valuable.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's see. So let's see what haven't we talked about that we need. Well, what inspired you to move from running companies to coaching CEOs?
Okay, so I'm going to put it in a very as it happened, right? I mean, on the emotional front, especially. Um, so after losing my husband, business partner, the 4 years were extremely intense. I was exhausted. I was tired. It felt like I don't want to work anymore, right? I'm semi-retired. I was calling myself semi-retired. And I thought I'm done with the business world per se. And but then, you have always been working, you have always seen the impact being created on the other side, and that kind of makes you continue to do that, some kind of work. And I got an opportunity. I moved my base from India to Dubai, and I got an opportunity here where somebody said, "You're sitting at home. Why don't you go and help?" He had two companies here, uh, investor with two CEOs. Why don't you help these guys? Auditors send me reports and everything post facto. When mistakes are made, opportunities are lost. If you go as a coach or help them, I didn't even have a title as coach, maybe we'll see better results. And I enjoyed that part. I realized that numbers give me kick. I realized that when some improvement happened and something changes, it makes me feel good about what I'm doing and how I'm being useful in this on this earth. And I said, okay, that's exciting. And it felt so nice that I can build not just one business of mine, but many more businesses at the same time. This was one very selfish motivation, if you may call it as that. Second, I also realized that I, I say this to my friends that I was really an idiot when I started the company. I thought if I write a great code and if I deliver a great project, my company will grow. And how wrong that is, right? Like we discuss in and on business. I just was in the cubicle and thinking, imagining that my business is going to grow. And I see that even today happening. The founders
Sure.
think, and
Yeah.
especially they are cloud specialists, they are cybersecurity specialists, they are like in the tech world, and they start their business, but they're engineers like I was. And they think if I just do this, I will build a great business. So the engineer to entrepreneur transformation was not easy for me. I had to go through a lot of, trial error, falling and then getting up. And I thought maybe there is a need. I can make this easier for these guys. The next one. And I get to build many businesses. I like my numbers, and in the process, they do this slightly effortlessly, little more with ease. And therefore, then I thought, okay, this is something that I like. And then I did a coaching course from International Coaching Federation that how to really hold space and let them show their vision, bring out their vision rather than me pushing. And that helped. I like the process of it's so lonely. It's so lonely for all founders. I was there. Even though I built it with my husband, he has his own challenges in his own ways. I have my own set of challenges. And if we keep talking about that, there's no marriage, right? So we had to, it's still lonely. How many decisions we have to make and how do we make that? And all of that came together and the opportunity somehow started coming in. And I said, okay, I like doing this and I'm going to formally do this now. And then I was calling myself profit coach in the beginning. And then I realized that it's so important that I'm more interested in the human behind the business than just the business. Because if he or she has extreme clarity and focus, the business does so much better. So I cannot exclude him or her founder from the whole process. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to call myself CEO coach because their skill set needs to grow from cloud architect to an entrepreneur. And that is something that I'm going to offer. So that's why uh, not anymore founding more business company, but coach many founders. That was the
Yeah.
transition for me.
Yeah. Well, I think that puts you into the category of being a compassionate capitalist too, because
Yes,
you know what I mean? Because
indeed.
my original definition of compassionate capitalist was somebody who invests time, knowledge, resources, and money, right? So it's like into entrepreneur endeavors to bring innovation to the market, create jobs, and create wealth for all those involved. And so, your resources, your knowledge, your time. I don't know if you probably don't want to have a conflict of interest of investing in those businesses themselves, but I know you do that as well. So it's just, you know, and so you help those companies succeed and the ripple effect of what that has in the marketplace
Yeah.
and you make money doing it. And they make money when you're
Mm.
involved. So there you go. So as we
Yes,
wrap
win-win.
up here, anything else you would like to add that we didn't cover?
Well, it's been great so far, and I wish more founders realize that uh, building a valuable business is not just when you sell, but it helps throughout the journey. And if you sell, if you don't sell, it's still okay. And how to do that is something uh, can be learned. If I can do it, I believe everybody can do it.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is more companies get bought than go public, right?
Yeah.
And so the heavy lifting to become a unicorn to be able to go public is such a different a completely different kind of a beast,
Yeah.
that and we see that they a lot of times they don't sustain that value because of the inflated value the or that's based off of how much money was put in versus their actual revenue and business model and your traditional things you look at. And so prepare your company to sell, you
Mm.
know or in the case where you want to create a generational business. In both
Yeah.
cases, it has to be where it runs without the founder, can
Yeah.
run profitable and can sustain over time. So even if you're trying to build it for your family to continue to run and be a business that way, you have to have that. And if you're building it to sell, it is such a big difference that that part of it. So the things that you're doing bring value to everybody. So thank you.
Absolutely. You summarized it better than I would have ever done that. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm the value whisperer.
Ah, I like that.
All right. So with
Great.
that, everybody, we would say thank you very much to Robbie for being on the Compassionate Capitalist Show. And to everybody else, onwards and upwards, please like and share this podcast with an entrepreneur out there, a founder out there that is struggling to figure out how to grow value, prepare to sell their company, because you got some really good gold nuggets here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Karen. Loved it.
Thank you for listening to this podcast, The Compassionate Capitalist Show, brought to you by Cougaran Capital Holdings with Karen Rands as host. You are encouraged to visit the website, cougaran.com, to learn more about how Karen and her team help investors and angel groups make money by avoiding investing in deals that suck, and how the Cougaran Capital companies and partners help entrepreneurs break through their barriers to capital and live their dream by building companies that can scale and create generational wealth for their founders and investors. If your business could benefit from exposure to our audience of business executives, entrepreneurs, and investors, we are seeking financial partners and sponsors for the Compassionate Capitalist Show to help us take this podcast beyond our 150,000 listeners and amplify the message of the Compassionate Capitalist movement by making this a top 50 business podcast. The Compassionate Capitalist Show is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Google Podcasts. Contact us at KarenRands.co to learn more. And as a listener, you can do your part of the Compassionate Capitalist movement by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts and sharing this show with your friends and colleagues. Be sure to pick up your copy of Karen's bestseller that launched the Compassionate Capitalist movement, Inside Secrets to Angel Investing, a step-by-step strategies to leverage private equity investment for passive wealth creation. Thank you for listening.